Home education is an absolutely amazing journey. It's something that I've done with all my children. 5 of them never been to school until much later on. My eldest went to school for the first time at 16 to do his A-level equivalent. Second one at 14, which is a fantastic timing because there was COVID, and if he had not gone to school, he would not have had predicted grades, because as a home educator, you cannot predict your own child's grade. The third one also went to school at 14 because there was still uncertainty about COVID. So we didn't know what it is. So I said, okay, she can go to school in case they need predicted grades. So with the fourth one, it had all settled. COVID happened, schools reopened. So he carried on with home educating until 16, and he's just recently started school for the first time in his life at 16, just like his elder brother. And now I have one who is full-time home educated, and he is 13. This place is Mukuvisi Woodlands. It's a nice place to come, hang out, have picnics, see the animals. But the best time to see the animals use this time when they come to the watering hole, because sometimes you may come and they're not there. You can find out the times that they come at the watering hole via the website, or phone them, or just walk in and ask. But there are other things to do around the whole complex. There's the horse stables. You can actually do horse riding there as well. There are prices there, and have a look. It's a very nice place to spend the day. So I'm going to be talking about this home education, why we want part of this, what I'm doing, and then later on I will also include my walk to Avondale flea market, and it's an amazing market where people make so many beautiful things that you can see at the end of this Mukuvisi Woodlands tour. And Avondale is a great place to go to buy souvenirs and just to, lunch. There are restaurants there, and it's an amazing place. When we first moved to the UK, I lived in an area where I was introduced to home educating. I didn't understand it at that moment because I didn't have my children in school. They were still very young. But I used to hang around with these women that used to have a club where they would get together. And at that moment, I'm sure they mentioned home educating at some point. But it did not really make sense to me at that time because I just assumed, when a child grows up, they go to school. Fast forward a few years later, when we had moved to a different area and my children, the eldest one, was about to start school. I looked around at the league tables in the area that I lived in. I don't even remember how I came across league tables, but when you're in your path of something, things open up in ways you just don't understand. I looked at the league tables. It was terrible. For primary school, it was about 10% or something like that for English and maths. I was like, what? This cannot be right. I cannot give my children a bad start. Being an immigrant in the UK is not easy. First of all, you don't know the areas you're moving to. You don't know how the whole system works. So you don't even know about things like deprived areas and underfunding and stuff like that. So I didn't know these things, but because I'm very curious, I like to research, I did my own digging. And I found out that home education is an option if you're not happy with certain situations. And I did not want to give my children a bad start. That was very important to me. I went to good schools. Their dad went to brilliant schools as well. And we had exposure to so many variety of things like tennis, swimming, gymnastics, chess, javelin, and all those things. Those were provided for at our school. And then I look at these schools where potentially our children would go to based on the catchment area. And I was like, no, these schools don't even have playgrounds, or it's very tiny. They don't even have access to sports that we used to. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this on my own. I spoke to my husband and I said, okay, I think I want to home educate. Actually, I didn't even say I think I want to home educate. I said I would like to home educate the children. Because, when the child gets to a certain age, you get forms from the school, or you get a letter, I think it is, that says your child is about to go to school, and basically register them at a school. So I said, I'm not registering them at a school and I want to home educate. And my husband is like, what do you know about home education? Do you think you can do it? I was like, how bad can it be? It's only primary school and I think I can do this. And he said, okay, give it a go. And then, but if it gets too hard or you find it difficult, at least the school is always an option. So I took it from there. How I started, I just started buying books and charts, alphabet charts, and then sticking them on the wall. There was no research done. I didn't do any Google searches or anything, and I'm glad I didn't. I'll come back to that later if I remember. But I started buying charts. There was a shop called Woolworths in Birmingham in Small Heath, and I used to go there and buy some charts. It really had lots of different things in the books. It was just a mixture shop with so many different things. Go to the kids section, book section. And then I started buying books, age-appropriate books, because they have books like in ages. So they'll say 3 to 5, 5 to 6, or whatever age. So I would buy those, buy charts, alphabet charts, stick them to the wall, counting ones, stick them to the wall, and just have them visually available for the children to walk around and have a look. At that time, I had 3 children. The eldest was the one who was ready for school. So at least I had one to work with, while the others were still quite young. And I noticed that he caught on things very, very quickly. 3 to 5 year old books, he was already doing them so quickly and easily. He would finish a book. He was so eager to learn. He wanted to learn. And it just made teaching him so much easy and so much fun. And with me, I'm not a person who likes to stick to a strict timetable. I hate doing the same thing every day for the repetition of waking up, going to school, coming back home, or going to work and stuff like that. So I never had a timetable for the children. Even up to this day, I do not have a timetable for any subject that I did with the children. I just not for that. I do not believe that maths has to be done at 8 o'clock every day or 7 o'clock every day. English has to be done at this time. No, why? Life is too flexible and spontaneous. So I did that. And then, because he was catching things quickly, I decided to think, okay, this age thing doesn't really matter. You don't have to stick to age. You don't have to teach according to age. So when he was about 4, I'll buy even books for 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, and he would just grasp everything. So he was always pushing me to teach more and learn more. And he started reading when he was just about 2 years old. That's when he started reading, even before I started really buying these charts and stuff. We used to play games where I would write on a piece of paper, like the alphabet, but at that time I didn't realize just how much he understood. So from the age of 2, 3, he would read books. So then I was like, okay, this child keeps on reading and understanding so much more. We moved to a different area, and then I got a letter in the post from someone there's an elective home education department in the area that I live in. They wrote because somebody reported that there are school-aged children who are not going to school. So they sent a letter in the post, asked if I wanted them to come and see the children's progress. It's not compulsory. You do not have to notify anyone that you're home educating unless your child has already been in school and you take them out of school. Then you can say, okay, I'm going to take my child out of school so that I can home educate. But because they had never been to school, I don't have to notify anyone, and it's not a legal requirement. So anyway, when that person wrote, I said to my husband, should I let them come? And he said, yeah, it's a good chance for you. It's a good chance for you to get assessed to see if you're doing things right. My son, the oldest one, was about 10 at this time. And the man came. He loves maths. The man who came, he absolutely loves maths. He's not just a maths teacher, but he's actually like a mathematician, an engineer as well. So he was going through what the kids were doing. At this stage, I had 3 who were compulsory school age. So he assessed them and he was very, very impressed. After the meeting, he said, whatever you're doing, just carry on. Because he did ask me for my system. What do I do? Do I have a timetable? Do I do this? I was like, no, I don't have a timetable. We just, work according to how we feel. And I choose child-led learning better because I expose the children to so many different things. And with that, I can pick out what one child likes. My eldest loves science. He's loved maths from a very young age. So I knew he would go into something like programming, which we're pushing him towards. He started programming later on at an early age. And, I introduced all of them to programming because I had taught myself programming. That's a story for another day. I taught myself HTML and CSS because of the business that we're doing with my husband, and we couldn't afford to hire employees. So I did the coding side of things and he did the design side of things. So anyway, that's a story, like I said, for another day to go more into depth, if I do go into depth with it. So I taught my children all programming. I wanted them to do programming because I believe it's the future. At that time, I believed it's the future, and I thought it was very, very necessary for them to learn. So he took on programming. He liked it, he enjoyed it. And then his younger brother, the one just comes after him, he is very artistic. He loves art. He loves drawing. He's very creative. So we pushed him towards the art fields. I don't believe that every child has to do science because it's offered. Why does a child who does not like biology, physics, or chemistry be forced to do it when they're actually creative? So this is one of the reasons why I love home educating, because if you do it properly, you tailor make every education possibility for your child according to what they like, where you see their strong points. Actually, my journey to home educating will never be done in one video. This is not possible because I've been through so many things, and this is just a summary of everything that I've been through with home educating. So I might go back, I might go forwards and whatever, just to try and get a grasp or to make you understand the journey. But it would need a lot longer than a video. So it probably needs a whole series. And especially when I have 5 children with all different tastes. Some of their tastes overlap, which is quite interesting, because there's some things that they do together that they actually enjoy together, and then there's this one who just likes maths, physics, and he just does his own thing, but he loves it. So yeah, the man just said, whatever you're doing, carry on, and then we carried on. What I do is called unschooling. These are new words that are coming up, but when I started home education, there was no such thing, and I'm glad that there was no internet at that time to really influence my ideas. No social media groups, no home education groups, no misinformation. I would just go by how I feel and how I would just do things, not referencing on anybody. I did not do any home educating groups because that would take away from my time. And that's another thing. I did not want to be in a specific place every single time at a specific time. So with the children, because there were quite a few of them, they would play with each other. So I didn't need that aspect of, that we need to do something. We would go out, we go on holidays, we go to groups, and we would go to certain groups, specific groups that didn't necessarily meet at the same time all the time, or just vary our groups. So there was only one group that we stuck to for a decade actually, until it closed not too long ago. And that was a forest school group. Then there are things that obviously you couldn't avoid timings, like my children played sport. Tennis, we have an elite tennis player. Then there's a gymnast who actually competed in British and English gymnastics. And those things you obviously have to. But the timetable I'm talking about is my own timetable of maths, English, and other subjects that we did. They also had tutors for certain things that I couldn't teach. That was later on, when they were older and we could afford it more. Because in the beginning, I did it all. The first time I actually had tutors for the core subjects was in COVID. Because at that time, I decided to focus on something else for myself, which I have. I have a hobby. I bake a lot. I even have a YouTube channel for baking. And my husband always encouraged me to have something that I'll do, like even when the kids get older, or I don't teach them anymore, or they move out, or they're even more independent. So he always encouraged me to find something that I should do that's for myself. So I started a baking channel years ago. And as a hobby, just something for me to do in my spare time. Yes, I had spare time with 5 kids, home educating them, but I also had time to myself. So that's what I did. So in COVID, I decided to create baking courses, which I did and sell via my website. So because I was taking time baking and recording and editing and all those things, which I do on my own, I then got tutors for the children. That was the very first time in my home educating journey. So my eldest 2 never had tutors for those core subjects. Then the youngest 3 did. The third one, only for a period of time, and she was older now, so she didn't have that much. And then after COVID, we carried on with a few tutors. So how I do my home education is I do child-led learning, where really I focus on what the child's interests are and then focus on that. So my second, he loves art, so he did go for art tuition, and he makes really amazing things. And he also did woodwork and metalwork for some time, and now he's doing his degree in architecture. My eldest is doing a PhD in astrophysics at the moment, and he's doing amazing things, which I might even make a video about. Because people, when I started with this home education journey, they'll tell me, oh, it's not going to work. Who even thinks of home educating? Schools are for going to, you should be working. England is for working. The diaspora, how can you go to the diaspora and not work? I said my work are my children. So I would put that effort in, and people were just waiting to say, oh, I told you so if they fail. So now that they're succeeding, I am willing and, just tell everybody the beauty of home educating, because I was doing something outside the box, something that people don't know, don't understand, and people tend to follow everybody else. They think, oh, people have to go to school. I was like, why? It's about getting an education, and education doesn't only happen in a school setting. Why does it have to? So anyway, the journey is quite interesting, and I have had lots of, I wouldn't say challenges, but they're not challenges. I take them as just hurdles to go over. So if something's not working, I look for something else. But because of being so flexible in my attitude, I don't need to be a Miss Perfect, the perfect house, the perfect, clean house all the time. I'm willing to let go of some dirt. If the kids are playing, they can play. So if you're not a tense person and you don't worry about a piece of paper on the floor or children screaming, you find it a lot easier to deal with, especially in the UK where you don't have any house help, unlike in Zimbabwe where you can get a maid. But in England, yes, you can get a maid, of course you can, but it's usually for the people, very high earners, which we are not, and were not at that time. So it was just us, my husband, I, and the kids. So we just had to make do with what we have. Sometimes you take the kids out, because the second one had lots of tennis coaching. He had coaching, and then he had tournaments. So we would help each other. My husband sometimes goes, I go, but mostly me, because he is working. So like tournaments during the week, especially during the school holidays, because they had tournaments every week throughout the summer holidays. and any other school holidays. And then weekends, there are tournaments. So we always used to joke about how I lived in the car. I had my 7-seater. I just get the kids in the car, get their snacks, get their tennis kits, swim kits, and gymnastics, and just know, okay, this one's got tennis. After tennis, we're going to gymnastics. After gymnastics, so-and-so has swimming. So it was just back and forth. But we wanted to provide that level of education and exposure that we had, but on our own. Private schools would be just way out of our league. So we decided to do everything on our own. So I like home education because of that. We started it because we're in deprived areas initially. But when we moved to better areas, I continued with home education because I loved it. I loved the flexibility. Now I'm in Zimbabwe, I have still one full-time home educated child, and we're still carrying on. We still do our activities and not so much hands-on, but we do travel. I get to a stage where I teach the children to be independent. From about 14 years old, I teach them to do their own research. I do start it earlier, like from, let's say, about 10. I start telling them I'm going on the internet, particular websites. I subscribed to so many websites. Not so many because I don't like confusion. I subscribe to something that works and sticks to it. So I have subscribed to websites over the years that they have played, which have games, because I have children who like games and I didn't want to prohibit them, but they would play games which are educational. They're actually taking something away. Oh yeah, another thing that I did. When I had the 2 kids first, I had a TV. We had a TV that we had for a long time. But I noticed that my eldest loved the adverts and he would repeat adverts for so much, and cartoons, he would know them line by line and playing them over again. I used to think, this child watches an advert and he remembers it and he sings it and stuff. Why doesn't he use this intelligence for something else? But, switching off the TV when it's there, it was hard. So I said to my husband, we need to get rid of the TV. And he's like, why? I was like, let's get rid of it, because if you tell the child to switch it off, they're going to cry and scream and I can't deal with it. So if they know the TV is not there, no one's going to be pestering me for having the TV on. So let's get rid of the TV, because they started wanting to watch TV and cartoons more than they wanted to do their work. And remembering those, I was like, no, better memorize and focus on things that actually matter. So we got rid of the TV. We didn't have a TV for probably 7-8 years. And when we did eventually get it again for documentaries, I was like, okay, they can watch documentaries, they can watch something more beneficial. They really had no interest in TV. Even up till now, they really don't have much interest in TV. And they do watch more educational stuff. Obviously now they're older, they can make their own decisions, but it's helped shape, if you're very intentional about how you want to bring up your children, it's amazing how paths open up. They also had tutors for Arabic, because I don't speak Arabic, but it's important for them to learn Arabic. They had tutors for that because I don't know it. So I had tutors for that. That's one constant we had. We had tutors for Arabic from, I think they were about 5 years old. They had that as a constant. So later on, I added a woodwork teacher, which we've had since my second youngest was about 3-4 years old. He's been doing woodwork and metalwork from about 3 years old, and I have photos and videos of him in the workstation, and now he is actually carrying on with his metalwork. He's now switched to metalwork completely. He loves it better. He has his own YouTube channel where he showcases his metalwork stuff, and he's actually gone into sixth form, and he is doing BTech in engineering, which his 2 elder brothers did as well. My daughter is creative. She makes amazing things. She makes her own clothes. She does crocheting, and she just loves it. She wants to go into business, and that's what her focus is on. And home education helped all of them achieve what they wanted to do from the very young age. They've had YouTube channels. We've taught them video editing, content creation, programming from a young age. So all of them do know something about that, but then all of them focus on other things as well. If you're teaching them business, they go into business. And this all happens because of home educating. They're not too tired after school to start on something. And I believe home education is the way forward if you do it right, because you can expose your children to so many things from a young age, focus on their interests, and build on that. Thanks for watching, and see you again soon.